Mr. Grieco, are you there? Is it Michael Grieco?
You got it.
Hey, how are you, my friend? Thanks for being on the show. Appreciate it.
You got it.
All
What
right,
do you need, guys? Talk to me.
Yeah, just you give us the scoop. So we hear the story, we think it's outrageous, and then I'm reading various accounts. At first, I read that you said somewhere that he wasn't even at this poker game or whatever, and that you knew where he was. And then later I read, maybe you were misquoted. Later I read that you're saying no, he was there, but it's not what it appears to be.
No, first of all, there's no poker game, and there was never a statement that he wasn't there. He's always consistently maintained that he was at this party or barbecue or whatever it is. What we've also maintained is if there was some sort of robbery, he definitely was not there. He didn't participate in any way, directly or indirectly, and the whole thing is nonsense. And even more nonsense, those same guys that claimed that they were robbed also said that he was with DeAndre Baker 2 days earlier, and they were gambling somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And, these are all black guys, but, clearly to them, all black guys look the same because they got the wrong guy. Because Quinton was, they say on Monday night he was out gambling with those guys, and I can account for every minute of his whereabouts on Monday night, and he was nowhere with those guys.
How can you account for every minute of his whereabouts? You were with him?
No, but I've got timestamp photographs, videos, and I'm pulling surveillance video from a store that he was standing out of the entire evening.
Okay, but that was Monday evening. What about Wednesday evening at the party? You're saying that Dunbar left before this robbery occurred, or maybe there wasn't a robbery? What exactly you're saying was done? What was Quinton Dunbar doing at the time of this so-called robbery?
He left. There was some argument about some dice game that he was not participating in, and he left. And I can tell you even further that these 4 victims, and I'm finger quoting over the phone, since they gave their statement to police, have given sworn statements to. They have sworn written statements contradicting their own statements. They gave them to me, and they gave them to the attorney for Mr. Baker as well.
Michael, in your opinion, how much of this is the Miramar Police Department being overzealous because Quinton Dunbar, your client, and DeAndre Baker are basically celebrities, NFL players?
Well, I'm not going to put a number on it on a scale of 1 to 10, but I will tell you that, I've never seen a police department tweet out that they've issued a warrant for 2 people and then tag their employers in the tweet. It is one of the most unprofessional things I've seen in my 20 years in the criminal justice world. I'm floored by it. I've been pitching a fit, and they made it a public spectacle. It's usually not in my high-profile client's interest to make a media spectacle of their case, and we try to do things quietly, but this thing blew up before I even got involved, and we had to change the narrative, not just for purposes of the case, but for the NFL, for the fans, for the Seahawks. I mean, this guy had just done his introductory virtual press conference within 24 hours of this allegedly happening.
Michael, just to play devil's advocate, because I believe the Miramar Police Department has responded to what you're saying there about the tweet, and they're not denying that they sent out the tweet, but what they're saying is that they didn't do any interviews, and there were requests, and they didn't go public. It was just one tweet.
Yeah, but how would anybody know to call them? It's like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. When you go and seek an arrest warrant, that is done confidentially and under seal. So unless somebody in the Miramar Police Department leaked that there was a warrant to the press, so then the press would call them, so then they have an excuse to dance around that they arrested or that they're about to arrest 2 professional football players based on, by the way, only these 4 statements. There was a 5th statement that they left out of the arrest warrant that they took that night that said that there was no robbery, and they left that out. So
Michael,
they had one individual.
Michael, what do you think the motivation is then for the 4 guys, if there's any motivation, to pin Dunbar on a robbery, or do you think it's a case of mistaken identity? What exactly are you saying, that they did not know who Quinton Dunbar was, or it's some sort of scheme?
No, I listen. During rookie camps, NFL players. I've represented, probably about a dozen players. Listen. I'm down in South Beach. We got guys that get jammed up in things once in a while down here, sure. And they tell you in rookie camps. They tell you, listen, who you surround yourself with, where you go, what you do. is a controlling factor. Nobody's getting arrested if they stay at home. Nobody's getting arrested at the library. Nobody's getting arrested at the team facilities. Nobody's getting accused of anything. But when you put yourself out there and you want, and listen, people want to live a normal life, but when you're a professional athlete, whether it's because of the money or the fame, you are a target. And, you create situations where if you're around a bunch of strangers, they can say you did whatever they want to say. There's no evidence that this happened other than the statements of these 4 people. There's no video, there's no audio, there's no firearms, there's no independent witnesses that corroborate what they're saying. None of that. It's a fallacy from the beginning. He has always maintained his innocence, and we will continue to do so. And I'm pretty confident that his name's going to get cleared pretty quickly.
Michael, we're talking to Michael Grieco, the attorney for Quinton Dunbar. Does Quinton know, or is he friendly with any of the 4 accusers before this?
No.
So he didn't know any of them.
No. Now, Quinton grew up in South Florida. He grew up in Overtown. Mm-hmm. He worked his way up. Went to college. He undrafted. He doesn't. These guys are from. I think these guys are from some other. They're from out of state. Put it that way. So these guys are not local. I think he knew the guy that put the party together, and even it's been insinuated that he and DeAndre Baker are like great friends. Like these guys, they know each other peripherally. Quinton is 4 or 5 years older than Baker. These guys just know each other peripherally from South Florida. They didn't grow up together. They didn't go to school together. They didn't play football together. It's not one of those deals where these guys are tight. They didn't show up to this event together. They didn't leave together. It was none of that. So I think the whole thing has been not only blown out of proportion, but it's just been, portrayed as something that it's not from the beginning.
Michael, and this doesn't necessarily mean anything in the grand scheme of things, but I'm curious, is Quinton Dunbar licensed to carry a firearm?
Is he licensed to carry? I don't know the answer to that question. I can tell you that in Florida, anyone can purchase a firearm as long as they're not a convicted felon or they check off a few boxes. And, this is a good opportunity to tell you that Quinton Dunbar has never been in trouble in his entire life except for moving violations, driving his car. So he's never had a criminal charge. He's never been in handcuffs, never been in jail prior to this weekend. But he legally can purchase firearms. And, he doesn't have a concealed carry permit. I don't think so, but I'm not sure.
All right, because initially there were allegations, and it was unclear whether the allegations were that Baker had the firearm or the third guy had the firearm or Dunbar had a firearm. So that's why I was just kind of wondering if he even had a permit.
Yeah, no, Florida's. I mean, you guys are up north. I went to American for undergrad, so I know D.C. pretty well. Mm-hmm. But down here, Florida, we're a lot of Florida is kind of South Georgia, so we have kind of a different operation with firearms down here, and there's gun shops everywhere. It's a different world. So you don't
more
you don't
Wild
need,
West down there.
It's a little bit. I mean, you don't need a permit. You don't need a permit to purchase. You don't need a permit to keep it in your car, as long as it's a few steps away from you. But you do need a concealed carry permit if you want to carry on your person. I have a concealed carry permit, but I'm former law enforcement, so I'm looking over my shoulder a little bit more than others.
So, Michael, the part of the story that Baker and Dunbar had lost a bunch of money at another game a couple days prior, that was false, correct? Is that false?
Absolutely false. Absolutely. And I say it with even more inflection because I can absolutely prove with more than just testimony that he was elsewhere. Not only Monday night, to err on the side of caution, I got him on Sunday night too, so I can confirm his whereabouts both those nights.
Would Quinton Dunbar testify that Greg Minuski was a horrible defensive coordinator?
We'll save that for another day.
Yeah, maybe not under oath.
Go ahead.
So, Michael, what do you expect here the next couple days, next 48 hours? What's he doing? And are they going to? You think they're going to drop these charges?
So it doesn't happen over a couple of days. The reason why I kind of came out screaming as much as I was, as early as I was really just to kind of potentially get them to take the warrant out of the system and rethink things. But at this point, things are going to be quiet for a couple of weeks. The state attorney's office has an opportunity now to do the right thing and make a determination that they can't go forward on this and that it's just a mess. They're not as pot committed as the police department is. So It usually takes 2 to 3 weeks to get some sort of filing decision, and it's independently done by the prosecutors. So hopefully, we'll have some good news to report in a few weeks. I think that this is
nice poker reference there. Pot committed. I like it.
Will
I like that.
Will Quinton be allowed to, because I believe the Giants told Baker to stay away from any activities. If the Seahawks are getting together for any sort of a practice or meeting, is he allowed to go?
If it was going to happen in an hour, the answer is no. If I was given a few days, yeah, we're right now he's limited to the state of Florida, but that's pretty standard. Okay. And then if you need to travel for work, usually you can get an agreed order, and that only takes like a day or so. So I'm not concerned about his ability to do anything. But in speaking with the Seahawks, I don't think anything's happening over the next few weeks. It's still voluntaries right now.
Okay.
All right, Michael, we got to run. Thanks a lot for joining us and fill us in.
Good info. Thank you, buddy.
I'll keep you guys in the loop. Thank you.
All right, thank you. That's good stuff.
Michael Grieco giving you the Quinton Dunbar side of things.